Good morning, everybody. Today is Tuesday, September 29th, and our topic this morning is the consciousness of the call. Quote, "For necessity is laid upon me, yea, woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel." 1 Corinthians 9:16. We are apt to forget the mystical, supernatural touch of God. If you can tell where you got the call of God and all about it, I question whether you have ever had a call. The call of God does not come like that. It is much more supernatural. The realization of it in a man's life may come with a sudden thunderclap or with a gradual dawning. But in whatever way it comes with the undercurrent of the supernatural, something that cannot be put into words. It is always accompanied with a glow. At any moment, there may break the sudden consciousness of this incalculable, supernatural, surpassing call that is taking hold of your life. Quote, "I have chosen you." The call of God has nothing to do with salvation and sanctification, per se, is I think what he's getting at. It is not because you are sanctified that you are therefore called to preach the gospel. The call to preach the gospel is indefinitely different. Paul describes it as a necessity laid upon him. If you have ever been obliterating to great supernatural call of God in your life, take a review of your circumstances and see where God has not been first, but your ideas of service or your temperamental abilities. Paul said, "Woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel." He had realized the call of God, and there was no competitor for his strength. If a man or woman is called of God, it does not matter how untoward circumstances are. Every force that has been at work will tell for God's purpose in the end. If you agree with God's purpose, He will bring not only your conscious life, but all the deeper regions of your life, which you cannot get, into harmony. That was a little tougher reading today. Some of the verbiage is weird, or just a little archaic, and also what exactly he means by the call of God. One, is he talking about a call to ministry? Is he talking about a call of conversion? These are things I'm sure he's spelled out in his sermon, but because it's an excerpt here, and I'm not super familiar in his writings other than this book, I have to speculate that perhaps he's talking maybe not about a call to ministry, though perhaps he is, but a general call, and he uses terms like glow. Again, what does exactly he mean by glow, right? And that could mean a lot of things, which perhaps he would spell out in an entire sermon. But I think what he's really getting at there is there's going to be some deep conversion experience that hits you. The first thing he says is interesting, that if you could tell me all about this call to ministry, then chances are you don't have it. So he's kind of just saying it's not this simplistic, straightforward, linear way. It could happen in like, bam, a miraculous thunderbolt kind of way, but it also could happen gradually. So he's not saying it has to happen quick or it has to happen gradually. It could happen either way, but there's going to be God in the center of it, right? There's going to be something that you feel is supernatural in drawing you toward God. That is his overarching point. And I think that generally that is true. Although again, because I'm not reading in this whole context, I don't want to say I disagree with him because I'd have to hear him out. But I think there's oftentimes a calling of God that is supernatural in a sense of it's not fanciful. You don't have a crazy conversion experience, but it's one in which C.S. Lewis tells a story of he takes a ride. He's on his way to a zoo, I believe it is, and he leaves there on that ride, not a Christian, and he arrives at the zoo converted, right? Just in a weird way, God works through this drive and this time, and it's been a while since I read them, so there might be some other aspects in there, right, that came about, but that there's just something God's working there in his heart and mind, where he arrives at this place saying, I believe in Jesus. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in the gospel. And it's not that he, in his own mind, just made sense of it and thought it's the most logical conclusion, even though he did think it was the most logical conclusion. But there was a work of God that was upon his heart and upon his mind that's not very fanciful, right? I just got in a car and I left here and I arrived here. And so I think many times walking with God is very natural it's walking in obedience. Now, the call of God is supernatural. I think that's what he's hinting at. But we don't always need a crazy manifestation. So I would probably, I don't think that's what Chambers meant, but I would just want to warn, after reading just that little snippet, that sometimes people could say, man, I don't know if I feel that or had that experience. And we should seek experience with God, and we should ask the Lord to really move and convict and show us passion. But really, the obedience of God is something that comes about day by day as we follow him, as we seek his will. And I think that's where the magnificent experience of God really happens. We'll see you guys tomorrow.